Hello, you clicked on that thumbnail when you saw that title, and here you are. I'm just another astrologer here on YouTube talking about the April 8th eclipse, but I'm going to turn it on its head a little bit. Something I can't help but talk about. And really it goes on a deep level, maybe beyond astrology or anything else for you. But for me, everything's intertwined. It's the story of victimhood, of hurt and pain, and what we as humans do in those places by ourselves, with the close people that we know, and with the rest of the world. Haven't you noticed a lot of fear going around? Apocalyptic videos and posts, conspiracy theories, lots of fear. Fear is always around. Actually, this type of method and doing videos like this has been going on, been building for years. Actually, 10 years ago, I could think about conspiracy theories type of stuff. But before COVID, it was prevalent, and I think it's gotten worse. And now I'm seeing astrologers, other occult practitioners, mixing politics, and I'm talking regardless of political party or wherever you are in the world, but mixing politics, alien talk, 5D garbage, Palladian stuff, globalist conspiracy theories, we're being mind controlled, all this type of stuff that's coming across. And I'm looking at their channels, and the first thing I see is the use of fear, scaring people to get views, to get you to comment. And all you got to do is, once you watch one of these videos, is look on the right-hand side of your YouTube or on your app down below, and you'll see more of them coming from like very hardcore right-wing Christian apocalyptic, scaring you that it's the end of the world, stuff like that. It just goes on and on. And in the media, especially the last 2 weeks when we talk about the eclipse, I've been seeing more fear even from the regular media. And I even see it from astrologers that I sort of know, that I watch their stuff. And the language they are using to describe this particular eclipse. And it's all to get you to click and at some point interact, so it feeds their algorithm, their video, and in the end is to emotionally take your currency away, your actual money currency and your emotional currency. That is where it lies. Some people may not agree with me, but I have to make this video. And I'm going to support this particular thing by showing you the chart and what I mean. I didn't plan on it this way, but let's do it. Here's the chart of April 8th, 2024, 11:20 a.m. Pacific. I was hopefully going to check this eclipse out, but I wasn't not going to be able to do it in person. Pay no mind. I know many of you in the United States are going to be watching this. It's going through the heart of the country. So in a symbolic way, many people have talked about the current timeline with the politics of the United States and this eclipse going through it, and how there's a certain type of change, and Mars and Venus are involved in love and war, and this particular kind of separation that's happened in the United States, which I believe to be true. But if you've never been here before, will speak plainly and truthfully, but I always end up in a place of looking for inspiration and hope. But it doesn't mean that it just happens or one gets lucky. It takes hard work, and it takes being real with yourself and being real with the people that are close to you, and your stance and how you participate in groups, your country, and the rest of the world. And that is the key part here, okay? Is how you as an individual choose to relate to all those things I mentioned, okay? And I'm going to bring up here, and I'm going to show you here, this new moon. The solar eclipse is the new moon. It's always that way when we deal with stuff here. So this new moon is at 19 degrees. And you see here that Chiron, the wounded healer in astrology that deals with separated self, separated wounds, wherever it is in the chart, the story of how we heal those wounds, if we do, in the process that we go to and go through, and the times that we do it through other people and how it's reflected back to us. That's a general sense of what that is, and it's pretty much the main signature of this eclipse. Aries is the sign of me, you, myself, the will, fire, how we initiate our will into the world. And here we have, it would seem with the new moon, a beginning, something anew. And I think long term that it is, but we also have to remember that for a particular time there, if you're at the heart of the eclipse, it could be 4.5 minutes, that basically the sun gets covered up. The light gets sucked out. And from that point of view, there's an energy suck. There's something happening there that is not typically normal. So if you have anything in your chart in cardinal degrees, which is Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and I'm forgetting Libra, 19, 18, 19, 20 degrees, this particular eclipse is affecting you. But not only is that, this eclipse cycle started last spring, and it will actually go through all this to the end of this year when the eclipses show up again in 6 months. But here we're at the heart of the story. And I in particular think in this video that this is about oneself and how they initiate their will, or what they're willing to do to take care of their wound, their personal story. And some of it may not have anything to do with wounds. It just has to do with moving forward. And I think in my mind that it could happen in 3 different ways, the story, right? And I'm going to say that right now. I think one part of the story could be for people is they are in a victim mentality and victim place and wounded place. And we see this reflected to us in internet comment sections, interacting with groups of people, and then on the political end. And what I mean by this is that no one wants to try to move forward from their pain and anger and their suffering. And I don't think some might even know that that's what's going on. To bring it back into the conspiracy theory thing and the illusions that are out there, I think people are preying on people. They're preying on their fear and their anxiety and their worry that's been built up for time now. You see it reflected in culture. You have that mixed with technology, how it's hitting your brain, how you're losing sleep. You're not eating like you used to. Your nervous system is shot, and you're constantly getting those dopamine hits. And it's all based on arguments and the need to comment on things and to create divisiveness, a split between certain people's situations. It could be any damn post you can pick. Someone in there, a couple people are going to start something up. And now that it's become habitual online, there are those who capitalize that and who have learned to do that. On their YouTube videos, I'll just say certain astrologers out there who have made a couple videos in the last 2 weeks with very dramatic pictures. They all seem to have their mouth open like this, and they're doing some kind of scared thing. Contrasty thumbnails. The titles are very ominous. Some are extreme and apocalyptic, or they bring up the words. They're bringing up conspiracy theories. They're digging for every stupid little thing they can find in the past, from every aspect, from aliens to the government and mix and to all types of stuff, and they're working it and using it. And all I see are people getting hook, line, and sinker and hooking on that and just completely getting lost in the cycle. Not only does it disrespect astrology and other modalities, it's just preying on fear. And people are cashing in and making a lot of money. That could be some of you. You just can't stop watching that stuff, and then it becomes believable. What ifs, or this is that. Also, there's a stigma with anything in the occult that has to do with prediction. This has been going on for thousands of years. Just now, it's just hyper-focused and turned up to the max. Are you in that space? Because when I see people make videos like this, or I see this type of media happening, and I see the people indulging on it, I look past it, and I'm like, everyone is standing from a fear-based place. They're scared. And so their reactions and how they're doing things habitually, depending on their own personal story, and then how they're bringing that personal story to the group, to the collective. And then there's those who are manipulating that situation. Are you stuck in that place? Scenario 2. You're sick of being in that place. You're sick of being a victim. You're sick of actually, and I'm going to call out everything here, the actual call outs that have happened in the last 6 years on Astro Twitter, on other things like that, where people playing a political game of calling each other out and saying, you're this and you're that, and here are my receipts, and the fighting going on, the secret direct messages, and taking people down. You know, there are times where the truth needs to be spoken, but it's turned in, mixed with capitalism, as in taking call-outs and victimization and making money off of it. I've seen people in the astrology community do this. Are you sick of that? Are you sick of engaging in situations like that online? Are you in scenario 2 where you actually figured it out and you know this is bullshit, you've been manipulated, and it's sucking your energy dry and it's not getting you anywhere? In the moment, you feel the rush. In the moment, you feel the anger and you feel like you're starting to get your say because you never had your say. But where is it now after the last 5, 6, 7 years? Where has it gone? Is it just repeating itself? And are you noticing that? Because if you are, you're at an amazing place. You don't have to keep that way. You don't have to keep engaging in that way. Which brings me to my third way of looking at this. You've already moved forward. You've already taken responsibility for yourself and how you're engaging and relating to the people, the situations online, or anything else in the world, and you see it for what it is and for what it was, and how it got in your way from your comes your spiritual growth and your happiness, and that you don't want to engage in that. You're not, and you're already blazing forward. Even if you don't know what the answers are or what the path is or anything, that you know you don't want that, and you've already made the steps to change this. All the Aries that you see here in this chart can be represented in one of those three ways. Are you stuck in a Chiron story of wounds in the past and just feeding itself? Or are you in the second place where you're realizing you don't want to do that anymore and you're starting to vocalize it with Mercury, and you're trying to figure it out during this Mercury retrograde, and you're trying to flesh it out in your mind, because in order to do that, so you know where to go next. And if you're in that third place where you're moving ahead already, then you know that here, all of this Aries stuff is about propelling you forward. The ruler of this eclipse is Mars here in Pisces, and it's also connected to Saturn. Here is where certain astrologers are going to say the worst things, because Saturn and Mars are known as malefics, as planets that do bad and do harm, or things don't flow easily. Can be. It just depends on your individual chart. Don't get caught up on the hype. Don't get caught up on the thumbnails preaching how horrible it's going to be. With Saturn and Mars here, there's a cycle here that is beginning. A cycle when Mars and Saturn get together, and when utilized, when used correctly, Saturn brings the discipline and the strength and the fortitude to get things done, and Mars brings the energy to do this. And if you look at it from this point of view, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's bad. Does it have to do with stress possibly and hard work? Totally. Is it going to play itself out over a long period of time if you have a challenging story in your life? Totally. I actually think the next 7 weeks we're really going to see it play out, and I'll point out how I really see it here, why. But I just want to point this out to you. Yes, these are tough planets. At the same time, it's not the effing end of the world. There isn't some weird, freaky conspiracy thing going on. You choose how to be Aries in your chart. And at this point, there is an ending of a story happening here and an opening of another one. It's just going to take a while. How do you choose that story? Do you choose the story that it's the end of the world and it's all messed up? Or do you choose the story of like how you're going to take responsibility for your own wounds, your own life, and how you don't need to be controlled. You don't need to be manipulated. That you know instinctually and intuitively, after you get through all the conspiracy theories, the illusions, and the manipulative plays on you, that you push all that to the side and say goodbye to it, and you let your instincts, your connection to nature, move you forward. Here, with this, with Mars and Saturn, you can construct something with the vision of Pisces. Now, something else I want to say here. and it has to do with the planet Mars. Mars will be in Pisces here until pretty much the end of the month, when on the 30th of April, Mars will go into Aries. And I actually think during the transit of Mars going to Aries, I think it actually will be much more challenging. And the reason is, and I'll show you here in this chart again, I'll point something out, that Mars is the last planet here. And all these planets are moving forward. Mars still has to go through Saturn, and eventually will go through Neptune and Pisces, which is a very important part of this month, and then eventually enter Aries. And at that point, we're going to be in the Taurus birthdays. But Mars has to go through the point, all the 30 degrees of Aries, and especially the 15-degree point that you see the North Node is here when we're dealing with the eclipse, and the 19-degree eclipse point, and Chiron, and it's going to meet up with Mercury several times here while Mercury's going backwards, or at least one time, a couple times. So basically, Mars is bringing up the rear in Aries, and that planet, when it's in Aries, doesn't have any filters, and it just goes and gets and does, and it's instinctual. It's just how you use it. I actually do see a lot of caustic and challenging behavior that's not necessarily happening this eclipse week, but really starts to kick in the closer we get to the end of April and into May. And Mars has to move over all these places that you currently see right now in this chart. The good thing about this is by that point, though, we're going to have Venus and Taurus, and we're going to start bringing in the Taurus things, and we're going to have these other planets to come help us out. In the meantime, this is the current situation. Now, I'm going to bring up something even farther down the line, and hopefully this makes sense to you. What I'm saying is that since last year and the beginning of this year, when the planet Pluto went into Aquarius, a lot of you who watch my channel know I'm talking about walking through the door. That Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for 20 years. And the things and shifts that we're doing as a culture, a society, and world is slowly shifting. But it's not just Pluto that's changing. We basically have next year, we will have Uranus go into Gemini. We will have the first entering of Saturn going into Aries and Neptune going into Aries. Pretty much all the outer body planets that are so fundamental in astrology when it comes to the deeper collective story are all moving into other signs. And it's slowly starting happening now with Pluto and Aquarius. But next year, Uranus goes into Gemini, which is going to harmoniously connect with Pluto. And then we will have Neptune and Saturn enter in Aries, which basically will eventually touch some of these points that we're dealing right now with the Aries eclipse. But most importantly, when fire and air connect, it's called a sextile. So even when Neptune and Saturn go into Aries, they're going to connect with that Pluto and Aquarius in a good way, and Uranus and Gemini. It will take a while for those beginning parts of the story to play out, but you have to know, and if you haven't figured it out right now instinctually and intuitively, that we are going through a major shift collectively, and it will never be the same. The key is, do you choose to live in fear and to run on what is happening now and how it's been set up for the last so many years of power and control over your mind, the things that you're interacting with? We didn't even talk about capitalism, the byproduct of this, of health, people not having any money for the most part, the delusions, what people are doing, how to cope with their fear that's destructive to themselves. I think on a core level, I think everyone knows, consciously and subconsciously, whether that we're actually moving towards a new era as a world, as people. The outer body planets that I just mentioned support this. This eclipse is a chance. It's a chance not to feed on fear, but it's a chance to change your direction of how you're going to walk into this new age and these new eras. Will there be challenges? Will there be war? There always has been. Will there be people trying to prey on the weak? It's happening right now. It always has been. But at the same time, what truly I think makes this world go round is the innovativeness of human beings, their willingness to dream, to have visions, and to run on hope and aspirations, and to try to make those things happen in their personal lives and as a collective. Don't ever give up on stuff like that. Don't ever give up on love and hope and inspiration. Don't give up on that dream. You can make these things happen for yourself, and that's where you're going to start. So, are you in the place of fear, feeding up on all this stuff and these conspiracy theories and illusions, or whatever the hell you're incorporating, you're relating with, that's just putting you into an illusionary state that's feeding on your anxieties or propelling your anxieties? Or are you in the place where you know you're sick of it, that you want that to change and you realize where you are? Or you're in that place you've already said see you to all that and you're blazing forward? Wherever you are in all that story, know that this portal that everyone's talking about, you call whatever you want. For me, I'm going to say it's a chapter in your story to move forward, to help heal the pain and suffering you have in a healthy, conscious way, to actually feel excited about life once you start to show that to yourself and to feed that love to yourself and then use it with other people, that you can actually take the will and the fire of Aries and move forward from that wound and incorporate the Chiron in Aries. And if you're ahead of the game and you're already there taking the wild, impulsive risks of relating to the world as a wild, fiery Aries can do, the way we want it to do, the way we could spring forward into new life, into the new era that we're going into, then show us the way. That's my message for you today. It's a little different. It's a little me ranting. But you know what? I was a little fed up because I saw the views. I saw the comments that are going on. I've been watching this for a long time. How people are using things like astrology or tarot or anything to create fear, to put money in their pocketbooks, and to keep this thing going because they have their own fear. Because they don't know any other way, and they don't think they have any other way, and there's something they don't want to confront about themselves. So instead of doing that, they will work you over. I'm not here to work you over. I'm here to tell you my opinion is Nicholas, Bully Monocle, Sparkles of Gold. I love what I do as an astrologer. I try to honor the game of astrology. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to be present and self-aware. And to come from a place that is strong, passionate, and from love, not fear. You'll never catch me trying to grift you on anything on this channel. If you don't like it, that's cool. I know people will come my way. I'm not worried about that. I just want something more than what's just been happening. More than what's been happening on the internet. And I know you watching, you got to this point, know that there's something else out there and you're sick of this stuff right now and everything that's been done the last so many years to work your mind and emotions over. You want something else. You want something beautiful. And it starts with you and the decision you'll make. If you're going to do anything with this eclipse, just recognize where you are in that story. You don't have to do anything in the next couple days or Monday. Let things play out for the next 5 to 6, 7 weeks. And when we get into May and when we get into June, you put that vision forward. Until next time, I'll see you on the next video.